everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nicole and this is Darvanalee Design Studio, and today's video is a sewing tutorial, and I'm going to show you how to make this great little organisational box for the sewing drawer or even your junk drawer. I use mine for wonder clips. I also use them for cotton spools and any other little knickknacks like pens, pencils, all that sort of stuff. So let's get started. Okay, so as I said, we are here to make this cute little box. It is made with a foam product, so the sides are quite sturdy and they stack up really nicely in a drawer. You can have things like your wonder clips in it, you can have one for your pens, you can put all your little knickknacks, your chalko markers, all that sort of stuff, and it keeps your sewing drawer nice and organised. So what are you going to need today for this tutorial? Well, you're going to need your general sewing supplies. You're going to need a pencil, some thread snips, rotary cutter, scissors are a must for this one, something to poke your project out. Of course, you're going to need your fabric. We've got a lining fabric and we also have an exterior fabric. We also need a foam product. Now I have scrap bits of this foam, and this is a Matilda's own fusible foam, so my exterior is fused onto that. If you've got a sew-in one, you'll need to do an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around just to hold that in place so we can do some further cutting. The size of these are 10 inches square, the same as your foam and also your lining. And on the back of that you can see here that I've used my scrap SF101, which is an interfacing. It's a woven interfacing, and I've just used my scraps because this is perfect for that. Now this fabric here was left over from some project bags that I made, so I thought why not. I had a couple of bits and pieces from when I've cut the fabric, and I thought why not make some storage containers for them. Alright, so once you've got your fabric, so you need a lining and exterior, and you've got your interfacing onto your lining, so that's your Shapeflex 101, and then you've also got your foam onto your exterior, we are going to make a few marks. So you're going to grab yourself a ruler, and you're going to grab your pencil and you're going to flip it over, and you're going to do this to both pieces. You will mark out 2.5 inch line and draw a line, and then do exactly the same all the way around, and then you'll do the same for your lining. Okay, set your ruler aside, and you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut these corners out, and you're going to go right up to that line without going past, and you're going to do that to all 4 corners for both your exterior and your lining. Okay, so that is our lining, and it looks like a little plus sign, and then we'll do exactly the same thing to our exterior fabric. And you don't want to go past that line, you just want to snip to it, so sharp scissors are a must. And any of the products that I've used today, I will leave a link down below, either the same product or the equivalent of. Okay, so once you've got that done, what you then need to do, make sure that you've measured 2.5. This piece here is your lining. You can set that aside. Now what we need to do is stitch on this square here. So we're going to head to the sewing machine, and you're just going to have your sewing machine set at the default. If you haven't changed your sewing machine needle in a while, I suggest that you change it, and I am using a size 90 today, and that's just a universal needle. Okay, then what we're going to do is just going to stitch all the way around. Okay, so once you've stitched that all down, you can see that it makes it look like a little box if you pull the sides up. All right, the next thing we need to do is the same thing on our lining, and that will help us when we turn everything in the right way. Okay, so we have now stitched that square on both our lining and also our foam. All right, the next thing that we need to do is make our little box. So we are just going to fold this in half. Just squash that down. Okay, and on this side here, you can see we have two sides matching up. We'll get a wonder clip and just pop that on. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side, making sure our top and sides are lining up really nicely. And just pressing that down, what we're going to do is when we go to the sewing machine, we're going to back stitch at the beginning, and then we're going to sew down to this line, but we're not going to go past. We're just going to sew down to the line and stop right on it. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we're going to back stitch at the beginning and also at the end. Okay, so let me just show you what I've done. I'll bring that up a little bit closer to the camera. So you can see there that I've stopped at the line. So I've 1/4 inch seam allowance, reversing at the beginning and at the end, but I haven't gone past that line. Okay, because what that's going to do, when we turn it out, it'll make our corner sit a lot nicer. Okay, so make sure that you just stop at that line. If you go past, it doesn't matter, but it won't sit as nice. Okay, so now we've got this weird looking shape. We need to fold it back on itself. Okay, and we're going to line up our sides. Okay, making sure that all our raw edges are lining up. Pop a clip there to hold that one, and do the same for the other side. Clip on there to hold that, and we'll do exactly the same thing. Okay, get rid of any long threads, and you can see there that that has now created our little corners and also our little box, and you can see it's already starting to stand up. Now what we need to do is exactly the same thing to our lining. Okay, so now that we've got both our lining and our exterior squared up, what we need to do is put this the exterior inside our lining, and we're going to line up our seams. And at this point, I'm just going to press open the seams using a finger press on both sides, on the foam and also the lining. And then I'm just going to pop a clip onto that, and I'm going to do the same thing all the way around. Okay, so all our seams are lined up. Now what I want to do is make sure that the edge of my lining and the edge of my exterior is lining up, and I'm just going to put some wonder clips all the way around. Okay, so you can see that that is sitting there nicely. All my raw edges are lining up, but what we need to do now is make a mark so we know to, because we've got to leave an opening. So on one side, okay, I just leave a bit of an opening. Okay, so when we start, we are going to start at this mark here. We're going to do a back stitch, and we're going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure that you have your needle in the down position and that your seams are pressed open, and you do a back stitch at the beginning and at the end. So at this point, we're just going to sew all the way around until we get back to the other mark that we made. And it's probably a little bit hard for you to see what I'm doing, but I'm just making sure that all my raw edges are lining up. And I'm doing my 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so we have stitched all the way around, and now we've got this opening here. What we need to do is reach in, take all our long threads off, reach in and pull out our little pouch out. So just going in, and I just separate the lining from the exterior, and I go over to the furthest corner and I'll just pop that out with my thumb, and I find that is the easiest thing to do with these little pouches, boxes, storage container, you can call them whatever you want. It's a little bit tricky, but as long as you've back stitched, you can get it through and you shouldn't pop your seam. Okay, all right, so I tend to then just go to where all my seams are and just roll them a little bit, give it a little bit of a tug, and that'll just help it sit a little bit better. Okay, and then I'm just going to push that down, get my poking device tool, and give each corner a little bit of a poke, get them out, get that to sit down, and then we're going to roll our seams so they're even. Okay, and sometimes you've got to put some wonder clips just to help you hold that in place, and I tend to do that at the seam junction as well. Make sure you push your lining down. So we are at our opening, so we've just got to fold that in. Okay, and don't forget we do have the foam in there, so you just want to fold that in so it matches up with your stitching. And at this point I just put a wonder clip onto it because it just makes it a little bit easier when I fold in the other side to match it, and I can just grab the clip. I don't have to worry about it slipping out of my hand or anything like that. So just get that to lay nice and flat against one another. Line up the edges. Make sure everything is pushed down. Make sure that all the bits and pieces are being held into place on that opening. And now what we're going to do is we are going to lengthen our stitch to about a 3.5, and then we're going to top stitch all the way around. Now I generally start just near a seam or in the seam. Now if your machine struggles with it going through it, just hand crank when you go. It shouldn't bother it. If you're using a 90 needle, you should be fine. You'll lengthen your stitches, top stitch all the way around using an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, and that will make sure that I get that opening closed as well. And I never start on my openings. I always start in a seam. Okay, so I start with the needle in the down position too, and I don't back stitch until I come back around. We have now top stitched all the way around. Our opening is closed. Now all there's left to do is give it a really good press, and then you're ready to use your little basket. All right, so that is it from me today. I do hope that you enjoyed making this little basket today. It's a nice quick tutorial. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and also if you're new here and you've yet to subscribe, or you're a returning viewer and you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it, and then that way you're not going to miss out on any future posts. But that's it from me today. Have a wonderful day everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.